Well, hey friends, this is Jennifer, and this is the Jennifer Allwood Show, the podcast for women who want to find freedom in both their life and in their business. I own a multi-7-figure-a-year coaching business. I'm also a certified life coach. So I have the honor of helping thousands of women every single month make money in the online space and help them to get unstuck from whatever is holding them back, all without sacrificing their faith or their family. In this show, you're going to get the very best life and business advice, always with a healthy dose of Jesus. So buckle in, my friend. I'm so excited that you are here. Well, hey friends, it's Jennifer. This is podcast episode number 303, where we're going to talk about boredom. I don't know why I just sung that. That was kind of awkward and whatever. But anyhow, we're going to talk about being bored in your business. And the way that I came up with this podcast topic is the other day I was in one of my coaching groups. I can't remember if it was my mastermind or the Better Way program, but I just felt like the Holy Spirit prompted me to ask the lady that I was asking questions, are you bored in your business right now? I could just tell by the way that she was, kind of phrasing some things that she's bored in her business. And she's like, I am. And I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about that. And I told my team, I want to do a podcast on being bored in business. So that's what I want to talk about with you today. And I want to start by saying one thing that I literally just thought of the other day, like being bored isn't bad. And I was thinking about that after I asked my client, are you bored in your business right now? And she's like, yes. And I think she almost felt guilty for saying yes. But then I was pondering later, like, why do we think boredom is bad? And part of why I think that we think boredom is bad is because we have been super hyper conditioned in the last decade or so with social media in particular, kind of, pushing this, but for to be constantly doing something, constantly striving, constantly doing more, making sure we're, participating in that and participating in this. And we've got the kids in 15 different sports and 15 different extracurricular activities, and just like go. And obviously that was more like before COVID than probably what it is now. But we have been conditioned to think that doing nothing is boring, number one. And number two, social media, I believe, has really conditioned us to look for dopamine hits wherever we can. Because, every time you are getting onto social media and you're seeing that somebody liked your post or they comment on your post, that is a dopamine hit to your brain. And as humans, we want how that dopamine hit feels. It's like a drug. It feels good. It feels validating. You feel seen when people are commenting on your social media and things, right? And so I think that boredom for a lot of us, for a lot of people, feels so opposite of like, go, do, strive, more. And also it feels opposite. Like if you're bored, you're not constantly getting that like dopamine hit of something working and you're great and you're doing amazing and all the things. And I do think that like boredom for an extended amount of time can certainly lead into places that perhaps you don't want to, but I want you to know that being bored for a period of time, like it's not bad. Things don't always have to be exciting. I know one of the things I was talking about in my life coaching group recently is, and I was talking about it with my daughter actually, because we were talking about sadness. And I said to her, like being sad at times, like it's just part of life. It's just part of being a human. At what point did God ever promise us that we would be happy all the time? I mean, the Bible says it rains on the just and the unjust. None of us get out of here without getting drenched at some point. Okay. So like there will be times of sadness on this side of heaven. There will be times where we experience pain on this side of heaven. There will be times, I believe, when we just might be bored. And so I want you, if you're feeling bored in your business, to just like stop feeling guilty about that and stop feeling like it's a bad thing. Okay. So that I just wanted to just get right out of the gate with that statement that being bored isn't always bad. All right. I also want you to know that sometimes if you are really trying to get into making money in the online space and making money in an easier way, that there is a potential that it will feel boring, because the way I train people to do things is to rinse and repeat. Okay. What do you mean, Jen? Well, I mean this. We just launched our Better Way program, which is the 8 ways you can make money in the online space. We launched it 3 weeks ago. Guess what? We're launching it again in 5 or 6 more weeks. We are rinsing and repeating. We have figured out something that works. We have figured out we get hundreds of people in Every single time that we open up that program, we get several hundred women that need help to make money in the online space. We're going to launch it again. Now, there was a time when I launched it just once a year. And then there was a time when we've launched it twice a year. And now we're going to launch it back to back. And will it necessarily be exciting? No, not necessarily. It's launching the same thing. But here's the problem, the error where some people mess up, I believe. They think I gotta try something new. I feel bored. I gotta try something new. Listen, my Better Way program brings a lot of revenue to this company. It does. And the way we launch it, it works. And the content that we have in it, it helps women make money. If I was to be like, you know what, I'm bored launching this and just decide not to, number one, our revenue would pay. Number two, women who need to know how to make money in the online space, it would also, not serve them well. If all of a sudden I was just like bored and just didn't want to do the same thing. So if you're feeling bored, what can you do about it? That's what I want to talk to you about today. Because me just being like, you know what, I'm bored with this whole Better Way thing, which by the way, I'm not. I'm just trying to use me as an example. And just deciding not to do it, that would be a bad decision as a business owner, a really bad decision. And so if you're feeling bored with some things, I want to give you some like ideas and some tips and some thoughts to maybe help you with that. Okay. Okay. So number one, I'd love for you just to examine like, why are you bored in the first place? Like, what's the root issue? Because if you are a super creative brain, you have a tendency to get bored way more easy than the normal person. If you've ever taken like the DISC personality profile, let's say a high C on the DISC personality profile, they do pretty good doing the same thing over and over and over, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. These are the accountants of the world. These are people that are, working on an assembly line. Like they're okay with their days being the same day in, day out, day in and day out. If you are a super creative person, as I am, you have a super creative brain, you get bored easier because you constantly need change. One of the things Jason and I have been talking about, we just purchased and closed on a new home in Arizona. I think you guys probably know that by now. So we have a house here in Kansas City that we live in full time, but we do have our home in Florida that we vacation to. And now we've got one in Arizona. And both of those, hopefully, also are on Instagram. One's bougie on the beach. One is bougie in the desert. They are both able to be rented. But I told Jason, like, I love that we have 3 homes right now because I get bored easily. Like, I just need to see new things. I just need to have a different landscape. It doesn't necessarily mean like I need to buy a home in another state again. Like, I'm not saying that, but I like things changing. I love that we are knocking out walls at our home in Arizona because it's change. I love change. And if you're someone who loves change, you might just get bored a little bit easier. So you're going to have to figure out what's the root cause of your boredom so that you can change and shift some things that are not detrimental to your business, but that help you feel less bored. Okay. So like if you're not being challenged at all, and in particular, if you're a super intelligent person, man, you've got to put some things into your life that are challenging in order to just continue to stimulate your brain. You need some things to be hard. You need to have some things you can figure out. That reminds me. Oh my gosh. I got to tell you guys a sidebar. Okay, so my husband, Mr. Magic, who I've been married to 25 glorious years as of yesterday, he keeps telling me that he wants me to put on his headstone one day. He may not be the smartest guy, but he could figure some crap out. Except he doesn't say the word crap. It makes me laugh every time. He may not be the smartest guy in the room, but he was able to figure some crap out. Hilarious. He does figure some crap out. So figure out what is the root issue of your boredom. Are you not being challenged enough? Do you honestly just no longer like what you're doing? And if so, like, it's okay for that to be the answer. Like, I'm bored because I now hate making candlesticks. Okay, that's all right. Well, let's think of what we could do instead of candlesticks. Do you need like a different challenge? Do you need something new? Do you need something, to innovate in some way? By the way, innovate is my word of the year for 2023. Do you need to feel like what you're doing is significant? Like if that really matters to you, like changing the world or changing people who can change the world. Like if those sorts of things are important to you, it's like significance of what you're doing, but you just literally are so bored with what you're doing. I wonder if it's because there's not enough significance to it. Are you still operating in an old season? Listen, if God told you to leave that season, walk and shut the door, and you still got 1 foot in, 1 foot out, it's no wonder you're bored. If you're still in an old season, no wonder you're bored. New seasons, they're going to feel new. They're also going to feel real vulnerable. So you get to decide, like, do I want to stay here and be bored in a season that God called me out of, in a place that God's called me out of, but it feels comfortable. Even though I'm bored, I know it. Even though I'm bored, I feel safe here. By the way, that's a lie. That's a lie you're telling yourself. You're no safer there. In fact, I would venture to say you're way safer being obedient to whoever God's calling you to. But if you're still operating in an old season, it's no wonder that you're going to feel bored. Some of you might just need to do some old things in some new ways. Like I know when I owned my painting company, I would love to go to like the painting schools that I went to a couple times a year, because it was new. It was like, it was creative. It just got me, stimulated all my senses. Maybe you need to be around some new people, have some new conversations, learn a new way of doing an old thing, learn a way of doing a new thing. But I want you to really examine like why you're bored. And then what can you do about it if you are bored? Well, you can quit doing what you're doing. Like that is an option, right? You can always just quit. So for the lady that I asked on the coaching call, like, are you bored? And she said, yes. One option is, well, stop what you're doing. And it's interesting because when I'm coaching someone and I say that, you can tell that on their face, they're like, well, no, I would never do that. Okay. Well, then you're going to have to figure out a way to not be bored, or figure out a way to deal with the boredom and be able to accept that. So you could quit. You can shift what you're doing. You can figure out like what parts of your business do you love that excite you and try to double down on those and let go of the things that are really boring to you. You could use the fact that you feel super bored as like incentive to shift and pivot. Let that feeling of that unsettledness that boredom possibly brings with it, let that incentivize you to like get some momentum to shift. If we never got to where we felt like unsatisfied in our business, or I'll even say, bored in our business, like if we never got to that point, we would keep doing the same thing that we've always done forever and ever and ever until we died, right? So like there has to be something that happens where God plucks us out of a season, or we just start feeling like this holy discontentment, or we start to feel like I'm wearing a shoe that's way too small, or I'm trying to put a round peg into a square hole, or I'm feeling super bored. Like those are some of the emotions sometimes that I believe that the Holy Spirit will use in order to shift us. So can you use that boredom as incentive to shift? Can you spice up the way that you do some things? Can you make sure that if you're bored at work, if you're bored in business, that you've got some other things that are super exciting that you're doing like privately? Like even if I was bored coaching right now, which by the way, I'm not, this still lights me up, but I am I am getting so much life out of like the things we're doing right now with the Airbnbs, Jason and I. What started as we're going to buy one vacation home has turned into now we have 2 Airbnbs within a year, within 14 months time. We are gutting, we gutted one, finished decorating it. I'm gutting the second one. I'm knee deep in the decorating. You guys, it gives me so much joy. You have no idea how much joy. I'm like, this feels like home to me to make a house pretty. This is what I know. This is what I did before I ever coached. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I'm a better coach right now because I'm finding so much joy in doing something outside of coaching. And by the way, it's not because I'm bored, but it is just like it's using a different part of my brain. It's stimulating creativity. And when you stimulate creativity in one area of your life, I do believe that you will see and reap the benefits of that in all areas of your life. I think I'm a much nicer person to be around when I'm doing home projects and when I'm feeling like fed in that area. Because as a super creative person, I have a tendency to get bored with the same color, walls, bored with the same furniture, bored with the same house, bored with the same state. Apparently, I really like to travel. And Jason he accepts this about me. I just really like to go places. So was this helpful today? I hope that this was helpful. I don't want you to feel bad that you feel bored. I want you to figure out, why do you feel bored? And am I willing to do something about it? What am I willing to do about it? Boredom isn't bad. It might just be exactly what you need to be feeling in order to shift, pivot, or do something different. Okay. So I do have a boot camp that's coming up. It's a 4-day boot camp. It's called Level Up Bootcamp. And we're going to be talking about being bored and stuck in business. We're going to be walking through in this 4-day boot camp how you can level up some things in your business in 2023. I would love for you to join me. You can go to jenniferallwood.com/level up. It makes me want to sing that song. Level up, level up. I'm not going to sing it for you. You know what I'm talking about? Sometimes I work out to that song. You can just Google it. Level up. There you go. But if you're feeling like stuck or bored, or you're just looking for some new ways of doing things in 2023 with your business, go join the boot camp. It's 4 days. It's an hour of your time, 2 hours if you do the VIP session with me, which I highly recommend because it's anything but boring. But go to jenniferallwood.com/level up. Let's see if we can get some excitement going again. I want you to be excited about what you're doing on this side of heaven. I want you to feel like there's some significance to it. Yes, even if you're just selling earrings. I would like to just say that I love a good pair of earrings. It's significant to me that I can buy from people who make earrings. Okay. So there's that. So even if you have a product, I don't want you thinking, oh, it's not significant. Yes, it is. Let's shift your thinking a little bit. All right. Let's quit feeling bad that you're bored. And let's figure out how we can work around that or shift and pivot some things so that you can both feel excited again and also really get a good plan for 2023. All right, friends, I hope that this was helpful for you today. If it was, share this podcast with somebody you know. Share it with 3 friends. That would just bless the heck out of me if you shared it with 3 people you know. Women who are in business, who are trying to grow, maybe who are bored, frustrated, all the things. Share this podcast episode with them if you would. And I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye. Friend, thank you so much for listening to the podcast again this week. I'm so honored that you come back for every episode and that you share the Jennifer Allwood Show with your friends and family. Every time I see you guys post about it on Instagram or Facebook or something, it just makes me do a little happy. So thank you. Make sure that you subscribe to the podcast if you never want to miss an episode. So you can go to Apple Podcasts or Stitcher or Spotify or any of the other podcasting places and subscribe each week so that every week you get the new episode when it releases. So just know that I love bringing you relevant content. I love bringing you great guests. And one of the ways you can help us here at Team Allwood is by leaving the podcast a review. So if you have just a second to do that, would you go over and leave a review for the Jennifer Allwood Show? Thank you again. You're amazing. I'm honored to be here. Until next week. Bye-bye.